She is a financial planner and advisor.
She's the founder and president of Zinnia Wealth Management. She's also a popular radio show host.
There's a way to have your money in the market and have protected growth.
This holistic approach will help people get to and through retirement.
Absolutely.
You have to change the way that you think. It's not about having these double-digit returns anymore. Things are changing, and you have to have an advisor that's keeping up with the changes.
Your outcome is going to become very desirable if you have some sort of coach helping you along the way.
And our next recipient from the Media and Communications XP, Charisse.
Charisse Rivers.
Do not have to risk all your money in the market to survive, because it's about the retirement dream.
Hello and welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk, home of Zinnia Wealth Management Facebook Live edition this Wednesday. This is our first time doing it on Wednesday. We're sticking to today, starting right on time, 3:30. I am your host, Charisse Rivers, and I'm going to get you through the next 30 minutes. Let me give you pregame. Pregame, we're going to talk about the stock market, what's going on there, Central Florida, some changes there. We're going to go into trivia, so make sure you have your trivia caps on. We're going to talk about the last episode and a few other things. And because we hand out a $100 check to the first three to submit the correct answer. So I'll get all four of them. And then we're going to talk about Roth conversions, Roth IRAs. Should we be contributing to a Roth? Do we want to use any of these tax strategies moving forward so we can lessen our tax burden in the future? So stay tuned for that, because that is something that most people, in my experience, don't realize they need to start planning for, okay? And then we're going to talk about the top deal here that we found this week. So remember, my job is to educate, inspire, and get you to retirement and beyond. So let's get started. What do you all think about this stock market rally? Remember last week I said, if we could just hold on to it a little longer, markets will go up. So I had a little hope for this week, and the market is just off the charts, booming. Makes no sense. Stock prices are high. S&P levels are all-time highs, and we're buying stocks and companies, and they don't have the balance sheets to back it up. But hey, why not? A little hope can go a long ways in retirement planning, right? And so just remember, if you're in retirement or nearing retirement, that retirement red zone, don't get too crazy, because could we be creating a potential bubble? I hope not, for all of our sakes. But always plan, have an exit strategy, have some pre-planning involved. Okay, so S&P 500 has been doing good. The Dow Jones has been doing really good. Stocks are off the charts, and I know a lot of people are asking, what stock should I buy? And I say, buy the ones that are going up, not the ones that are going down. You'll notice some of the tech stock went down this week. So you have these ebbs and flows. You have the large cap, big companies, the S&P 500, and you have the tech stocks. And so, you know, when one goes up, one goes down, one goes up, the other goes down. So it's good to be very diversified and have a little bit of each, possibly, if that is something that you're working on inside your portfolio. Okay, also watch out for transport. And the Dow Jones, that was a big mover this week. So transport moving forward might be a good indicator, says Kramer, if you ever watch Squawk Box CNBC. So remember, don't put all your eggs in one basket. What goes up sometimes does come down, and we all know that. Okay, let's talk about airlines. This is also moving the market. This Sunday, they had 800,000 people pass through airport security, getting on planes. So that's the highest number that we've seen since March. So airplanes, even those stocks, they were up 7% and up a little bit more. And so there's a lot of hope happening right now, which is good. People are feeling better. We're seeing a smaller number of COVID viruses. So it's giving people optimism, right? That confidence is coming back to get out and do things again. So I do like to see that, because we need to drive hospitality and get the economy going, but also be very careful. Follow the rules of engagement. Wear your mask where you're told to wear your mask, and always carry sanitizer. Okay, let's talk about Trump. He signed an executive order for the stimulus relief. So that was a really cool thing today. I will tell you, he might get in a lot of trouble for this. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. I'm going to move forward, only because it could be against policy. It could be against somebody's rights. A lot of other things happening, you know, politics. But let's just go with the basics. Right now, there's an additional $400 in unemployment per week. Okay, so that's part of that package. Payroll tax holiday for American earnings less than $100,000 per year. Okay. Number 3, the executive order on assistance and renters and homeowners. So that's good. Renters and homeowners, you know, something had to happen there. And then last but not least, deferring student loan payments. So this was the next step. Unfortunately, he did this executive order, and it was not taken very well. And right here it says he might be facing a legal challenge, which Trump, yeah, you know, we know that's kind of what you're used to, right? Hey, here's a fun note about Donald Trump. The governor of Dakota, basically, in case you didn't know, gave him a 4-foot statue on Mount Rushmore. So guess what? We all get to see Trump everywhere we go, and even when we're visiting in our retirement years. Isn't that sweet? I wonder how much he paid for that, or did he not? Okay, I'll start making fun of him right now. Let's talk about Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, he's pro, get these colleges moving. Let's get football going. He wants to leave parents in charge of if kids go back to college and go back to school. So he's really pushing for this college football. Some people will not be playing college football, but you can bet those Gators will be. So I'm excited about SEC season and see what happens there. And sounds like they have some great protocol to keep the players from getting sick. So that's a good thing. Okay, let's talk about what's happening in Ocala. Our mayor issued a veto on Monday of emergency mask ordinance that was passed by the Ocala City Council last week. Says the order is simply not enforceable. You know what? I'm going to back him up on that, because I think we should be able to wear masks when we want to wear masks. And we haven't been, and Ocala's not doing so bad, and Gainesville's not doing so bad. I think everybody has to take responsibility for themselves, basically. So I back up our Mayor Quinn. All right, we're going to dive right into Zinnia Trivia. Remember, got to get 4 questions right. You put it right into the Facebook Live little box right there, and you got to get all 4 of them right. So let's start with the first 2. Remember, we did not have a winner from last week. I am so disappointed. I upped the ante. We had 3 winners, and we're going to send $200 to each charity and church for those winners, and we still didn't get a winner. So I'm going to keep the ante up. And so this week, the top 2 to put in the correct 4 answers will get a check written to their church or charity of choice. Okay, so question number 1. From our last CBU, what age can you begin collecting Social Security? Is it 70, 65, 55, or 62? Question 2, from our last CBU, how many years of work do you have to calculate to get your Social Security benefit? Is it 35 years? Is it 10 years, 5 years, or 50 years? There's a total number that they calculate, whether you're working or not, by the way. So if you only work 30 years, and there was 50, you've got some zeros up ahead of you. So what's that number? Number 3, here is a fun one. In the classic 80s film Pretty in Pink, where does Molly Ringwald's character work? Is she the movie theater, the record store, clothing store at the mall, an ice cream parlor? If you remember that movie. I do remember that movie. And last one, just to get to know Charisse a little bit. What is Charisse's first job? My ultimate first job. Was I a lifeguard? Was I filling air tanks at a dive shop? Babysitting? And or hostess at a restaurant? So what is my first job? Remember, all 4 of them, you have till Sunday to put your information in there. And we will announce the winners at the next Facebook Live next Wednesday at 3:30. All right, let's move on. So this is my favorite segment, because this segment is just Zinnia you. We're going to teach you some things. We're going to teach you about taxes and Roth conversions and should you have a Roth. And you want to make sure that you're making these decisions now, because if you do these strategies now, your tax burden is likely going to be more desirable in the future. So why do we want a Roth IRA? A Roth IRA, all the growth is tax-free. Most retirees, all of their money is in a 401k and IRA. And so all of that is taxable when you pull it out to live on one day. So this is why I say possibly move some money from IRAs or your 401ks to a Roth, depending on your age. We're going to go over those details in a minute because it lowers our tax burden in the future, most likely, depending on how much you put in and that sort of thing. So let's start with the basics. Roth IRAs, they're funded with after-tax dollars. You cannot write them off, okay? Traditional IRA, you can write that money off every year. When you put your money in a Roth IRA, you've already paid the taxes. So hence why tax-free in the future. And one thing that I really love about Roth IRAs that you can't do in a regular IRA is that they're liquid. In a traditional IRA, you cannot touch a traditional IRA or retirement account till you are 59 and a half unless you want a nice little 10% penalty from Uncle Sam. A Roth IRA, whatever you put in, you can take out at any age if you had an emergency. You don't want to take out the interest that you've earned because that will be an issue. You have taxes and penalties, but you can always access what you put in. So you have some liquidity. Even though I don't want you messing with your retirement plan, I'd rather you tap into that than get hit with big penalties and taxes from Uncle Sam from a traditional IRA. So remember, you want to diverse your strategy, your strategy. So there's two ways to contribute to a Roth IRA. You can do it based on just contributing. If you have a job, you put the money into your bank and you can write a check. We call it contributing to a Roth IRA. So let's talk about that. There's income limits. If you're single and you make over $139,000, you cannot contribute the full amount to your Roth IRA. Okay. If you're married, you can't contribute the full amount to your Roth IRA if you make over $206,000. Okay, and then it kind of slowly veers off. So even if you go up a little bit and your income's a little higher, you can still contribute. You can't contribute all of it. Okay, and then you get cut off eventually if your income is too high. So you want to make sure where you stand there, because if you put money in a Roth IRA when you weren't supposed to, now we got some really fun excise tax we have to deal with, and you don't want to deal with that. So if you're over 50, you can contribute $6,000 and you have a catch-up contribution of $1,000 if you're over 50. So that's a total of $1,000. I'm sorry, $7,000. Now let's just say you're working but your spouse isn't working. You can contribute $7,000 for your spouse and you can contribute $7,000 for yourself, even if the other spouse isn't working, as long as you made that much money working. So if you only made $3,000 working this year, you can only contribute $3,000 to a Roth IRA. So there are some rules you have to follow, of course. And so that's one thing that you can do. So that's a total of $14,000. Now, if you're under 50, you can contribute, $12,000 if you're married, or $6,000 if you are single. So something to think about for extra dollars that you have in the pot of money. So I tell folks, maybe contribute to your 401k. You contribute to it, maybe 15%, whatever your number is. I say contribute up to the amount that you get the match, the free money. Then you go move to your Roth IRA, contribute there. And then if you have extra money that you can afford to contribute to retirement accounts, then you go back to your 401k. So it's a good strategy to make sure you're funneling money to a Roth and a traditional IRA or a 401k. So let's talk about ramifications here on taxes. So you work for a company and you make $100,000 a year, and you say, I'm contributing $20,000 to my 401k at my employer. Well, what happens at the end of the year, even though you made $100,000 in income, you take the $20,000 off that total, and you're only paying taxes on $80,000, right? So a lot of people are trying to bring down that tax burden as our salaries are growing and as we're getting older. So younger people, this is the best time for you to be getting a Roth IRA because your income is not as high. I still think everybody should be considering a Roth IRA at this point, considering taxes expire in 2025, and you decide whether they're going up or they're going down. But it's important that you actually understand this. So if you contribute $10,000 to, if you contribute your full $7,000 to a Roth IRA, well, you're not going to get a tax deduction off your income because that's just not how it works, because you're going to get tax-free growth later. Okay, so let me move on. The beauty of the Roth IRA also is there's something called required minimum distributions. If you have a 401k, a retirement account, one day you are forced to pull money out, and every year that percentage goes up, up, and up. And so baby boomers who are getting ready for retirement, taxes expire here in 2025. I highly encourage you start possibly rolling some of your retirement accounts over to a Roth. So even if you're not working, I don't care what age you are, you can convert an IRA or 401k to a Roth IRA at any time, any age. There's no income threshold either. I will say this, it's not advisable to do it if you're under 59 and a half, because if you convert an IRA to a Roth IRA or a 401k to a Roth IRA and you're under 59 and a half, you will have a penalty from the IRS of 10%. So we focus on 59 and a half. When you hit that age, start converting some of your IRAs over to Roths, okay? But remember, if your income's under that certain amount we just spoke about, you can always contribute to a Roth, which is great. And where do you invest your Roth? Well, you can put it in any investment vehicle. Just it could be a mutual fund, exchange traded funds. It could be an annuity. It could be, and you can do some real estate with it. So, the world is your oyster. You have a ton of options to invest in it, and you can put it wherever you want, which I really like. I do prefer the Roth IRA to be the riskiest account, because that's the one that's not going to be taxed, and that's the one we really want to try to live on in the future. So make those your riskiest dollars, okay? IRA, I feel like shouldn't be as risky, because that's your ticking time bomb. If your $1 million in your IRA grows to $2 million, well, you're going to have to pull a lot more out and pay more taxes, right? And so if you have $1 million in a Roth IRA and it grows to $2 million, well, there's no taxes. So we want the Roth IRA to be the doubler. Okay, so the right amount of dollars need to go in the right amount of buckets. That's also part of planning that we must always remember. And don't forget, the purpose of a Roth IRA also is wealth transfer, getting that money to your beneficiaries that you want to be passed on at a tax-free level. Right now, if you have all your money in IRAs, the new Secure Act rule says when you pass away, your beneficiaries can't stretch it for the rest of their lives. They have to liquidate it and pay the taxes on every dime over 10 years. So inheritance and wealth transfer is not transferring the way you once had planned. And this law started last year, so I hope you're planning for that. I'll be happy to sit down with you, do a 15-minute call to see, where you stand when it comes to the Roth IRA. Should you do it? Because some of you are probably thinking, well, Charisse, I have $1 million in my 401k. Why don't I start, and I'm 60 years old, so you're good there. Why don't I start putting $100,000 a year for the next 5 years and I convert half of it? And that's great, but what do you have to do? When you convert that money, you have to pay the tax man, okay? The tax man says you're paying the taxes on it. So it would likely take you up to the next tax bracket, and the hit might be not worth it. So we do have to do the math on the conversion depending on your income and your sources and so on and so forth. So those are definitely really good things to consider. Now, Susie Orman, what does she say? She says in her blog post, a bear market can be a smart time to do a Roth conversion, in which she discusses this on her blog post. I've been saying this for a long time. If you have money in an IRA and the market went down, it is a good time to pull dollars out while it's down, because now you can roll it to a Roth and those dollars can be risky and they can grow as much as we want them to grow. So it's part of the tax strategy. And so you want to make sure you get it right. So let me make sure I didn't miss anything, because there's a lot here and I want to make sure I crunch the numbers just right. Okay, so let's go over some steps. If you're converting your 401k, you're just retired, you have a 401k and you want to start doing this, you have to convert your 401k to an IRA. When it gets to the IRA, then your advisor, that's what I do all day long, can move it over to a Roth IRA. So that's one way to do it. Now, the second way to do it would be trustee to trustee. Let me make sure I'm on the right one. Well, I'm not sure I want to do that one just yet. I'm jumping the gun. Let's do the next one. Let's talk about another way that you can do it. It's called an indirect rollover. You can take and accept a check, and you can cash it out and put it in your bank, but you have to get it to the Roth IRA within 60 days. So be very careful with doing that. I'm not a fan of it, especially if you have to do another IRA move and you need to live off some bucks later on. So there's some semantics to that. Don't get in the weeds. So that's one way to do it. You just need to get into the Roth IRA within 60 days. The other way is trustee to trustee. So if you have it at Wells Fargo in an IRA or a Roth, well, and the next trustee you want to send it to, and your new advisors at Fidelity, the new custodian and trustee would be Fidelity. So you do it with paper, no checks are sent to you, and I definitely advise that. And you can do same trustee to trustee transfer. Let's say you're at Fidelity and you have an IRA and you want to transfer some of the IRA to a Roth, well, you just open up at Fidelity a Roth. So that's same trustee transfer. So it's very easy. And this is what your financial advisor is supposed to be doing for you. And a lot of you are sitting out there saying, well, Charisse, my financial advisor hasn't really talked to me about that. And here's the deal. You know, this is one of my specialties. I specialize in helping people with Roth conversions and different tax strategies. And so they might mean well, but they just might be a generalist, what's okay, and they don't focus on that part. And so when you go get heart surgery, you're going to want to go to a heart surgeon who's a specialist that you can trust. So remember, when you're seeking out different financial advisors, find out who are they? Do they specialize in anything? You know, what are the options? Go find a retirement shop that specializes in retirement or Roth conversions or tax planning, whatever it is. Make sure you ask those very, very specific questions, because you don't want to be with somebody, a financial advisor, and then all of a sudden find out, oh, well, they don't do that. So now you're going to look for somebody else. So it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it, getting that second opinion. Okay, let me make sure we didn't miss anything here. I think we covered everything here. Just remember, taxes expire in 2025. And the question is, do we think taxes are going to go up? Put a thumbs up. Just click the thumbs up button if you think, and I think it's the like button, honestly, if you think taxes are going to go up. Now, if taxes go down, I'm going to tell you something was a bad idea. If taxes go up, this is the grandest old idea ever. If taxes go down, bad idea. Hey, if they stay the same, though, it didn't matter which one you did, it would have been a wash, just so you know. But unfortunately, with all the stimulus and the printing of money, one day somebody's got to pay the piper, and it's probably going to be us. You know, Uncle Sam means business. All right, let's move on. We are almost done here. I want to go over our travel tip of the week. So everybody knows I love beaches, but our travel destination is St. Augustine this week. So St. Augustine, fabulous place. You go downtown, there's stores and restaurants and ice cream shops, cookie shops, clothing stores. But when you go down there, it's only an hour and a half drive from Gainesville, about an hour and 45 minutes from Ocala. And you might want to see this National Museum, Castillo de San Marcos. It's a large Spanish stone fortress built to protect and defend the Spain's claim to the New World. So it's really neat. They actually shoot out cannons there, and they do demos on the weaponry there. So it's really neat to watch, and you got to catch it at the right time, but it's so worth going. And it's been quite a few years since I've done it, but I'm due for a trip. Also, they have the Old Town trolley tours. It's a hop on, hop off, so it's so easy. So no problem there. And my restaurant pick of the week was the Ice Plant. It's been around since the 1920s. It was in an ice factory, and they just refurbished it. So it's really a neat place to go if you haven't been down there. So the Ice Plant would be the recommended restaurant while you're down there. Okay, last but not least, the discount of the week, and hear me out, this is good stuff. So I'm a big Kohl's fan, and right now Kohl's is having an 80% off sale on appliances, clothing, and furniture. You might see me in there for a long time this weekend. And then there's an extra 15% discount code if you're shopping online or in stores. And the discount code is, especially if you're online, it's called Save Big 15. All right, one of the most famous places to shop at Sam's Club. They have a deal I have never seen. Sam's Club says right now for joining, it's $40, $45 to join. Plus they're giving you a $45 gift card. So fantastic. Jump on it. I don't know how long it's going to last. I know you can go to specialoffers.samsclub.com, and I'm sure you can walk in there. I would hope so. I hope you don't have to go online. I didn't look into that. So I hope, we shared a good amount of information with you today. Remember, you can go to zinniawealth.com. There's a little red book to retirement. I suggest everybody read it. It's only 37 pages. We have all of our tax guides and Roth conversion guides, pension planning, all that stuff under my education center. It's totally free. And I'm here for a second opinion. You can go right to our website, zinniawealth.com, to schedule that. And again, live by design, not by default. And we'll see you here next week.
She is a financial planner and advisor.
She's the founder and president of Zinnia Wealth Management. She's also a popular radio show host.
There's a way to have your money in the market and have protected growth.
This holistic approach will help people get to and through retirement.
Absolutely.
You have to change the way that you think. It's not about having these double-digit returns anymore. Things are changing, and you have to have an advisor that's keeping up with the changes.
Your outcome is going to become very desirable if you have some sort of coach helping you along the way.
And our next recipient from the Media and Communications XP, Charisse.
Charisse Rivers.
Do not have to risk all your money in the market to survive, because it's about the retirement dream.